Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum rum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Good evening, my friends. Hi from Oklahoma, you all. Thanksgiving blessings from Yorktown, says Nancy, and Angela's in, and Pamela, and Shelley. I know it seems kind of strange to say hi to everyone, but it's kind of boring to those who are not here and they listen to this later in the week, months, or even years from now. But my friends, let's wait till everybody joins in, and it makes it so that there are more with us. It's the more, the better. It's much more fun. Then I get to see your comments to each other's comments, which is, I love those responses. Middle of Missouri, says Linda. Noreen, hi, nice to see you. Thanks, Noreen. So good to see you all. Good evening, my friends. It is Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And that means one thing and one thing only. I meet with you to teach you what I know about homeopathy. What I know, what I've used for close to 40 years. Actually, it's more like 37 years of homeopathy. 40 years of natural health. And I'm here to teach you as much as I possibly can, and for you to interact with each other, because a big part of what I do, my friends, is to connect people. Connect people so that you can help each other, because that is what we need. We need a community of people helping each other. Otherwise, we become dependent on an industry and a government that does not have our best interests at heart. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jo at Calabrese, and that's what I do. For those who do know me, hi, friends. Yay, it's Monday night, says Francis. Yeah. And yay, it's Monday night with Jo at All Is Well with the World. Oh, Francis, what a lovely thing to say. It's one of my favorite names, Francis. That was my mother's middle name. Oh, I love that name. So Nashville, Tennessee is Patricia and Nina from Maine and Jennifer from Florida. It's wonderful to see you all, my friends. Hello, dear ones. It's good to see you. All right, we've got something important to talk about tonight. It's something that's super common, and it's something that is can be just a little bit off, a little more off, a little concerning, quite concerning, and even, I don't know if I'd ever call it quite dangerous per se, unless it was quite extreme. And that is pelvic wall prolapse. Sometimes it's called a prolapsed bladder. Sometimes it's prolapsed uterus. Sometimes a cystocele. There are a couple different names, a lot of different names for it. And we're going to talk about even if it's first degree, second degree, third degree, etc., because it is important that we know how to treat this. Now, let me tell you, we can look it up in our repertory, which is right here. This is the 4th edition of Robin Murphy's Meta Repertory. It's not going to tell you what medicines to use. It's going to break it down for you. It's going to give you quite a considerable list of homeopathic medicines for the pelvic wall prolapse. It's not going to tell you, it's not going to differentiate. That's what I'm looking for. That was the word I was looking for. It's not going to differentiate for you. It's not going to tell you, well, this medicine could be considered because of this, and that medicine could be considered because of that. And what are the becauses? The symptoms. So let me go off on a little tangent, my friends, and talk about symptoms. And I'm going to be talking more and more about them because I see that people are not always remembering this. Some people don't know because you're new. Others have been around a while and just need to be reminded that symptoms are king. In this case, symptoms are queen. Symptoms are absolutely the singularly most important aspect of determining how to choose a homeopathic medicine. Now, why is that? Well, remember Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, who discovered and then organized this method of medicine. And when I say discover, it really was always there. It was always there, but not in this organized fashion. But the concept was there. He recognized the concept that like cures like. And that when we dilute something and succuss it and dilute it and succuss it and dilute it and succuss it, dilute and succuss and dilute and succuss a number of times, that medicine, once it is highly potentized, as we call it, then when used for the person who has those symptoms, that original group of symptoms, that original substance would cause in the gross form, when we dilute it into a potentized medicine, it will relieve the person or the animal. And yes, indeed, my friends, even the plants of their suffering. So I want to remind you how important it is that you use symptoms to determine what the medicine is. So I'm going to go over, I've got some notes here that I put together because this is very important information. First, let me tell you that when there is a pelvic wall prolapse, as I said, it can be extreme, it can be medium level, it can be a mild level, it can be almost non-existent but beginning to present. Usually shows up in women in menopausal years, can show up earlier than that, especially if the woman has had a number of babies. That can show up in that regard, as a result, or around that, maybe not as a result, but around that. And so the sensations are like a heaviness sometimes in many women. There can be a back pain. There can be a sense of a ball or something abnormal protruding from the area. There can be a dragging feeling, a heavy feeling. There can be painful urination. There can be even bowel incontinence. And there can be pain in the whole area, all the pelvic area, etc. What most people are told to do, most women are told to do, is to do Kegel exercises. Well, yeah, yes. I mean, okay. But we want to go further than that. We want to get the problem that is generally hormonal or architectural to be resolved enough that she won't need to do Kegels, or the Kegels that she does plan on doing are more effective. Okay. Also, I'm going to say that diet, as almost most conditions, diet is important. And so what I'm saying by that is we want real food, organic food, purchased directly from farmers if at all possible. We want high quality dairy, raw dairy, etc. So I'm not going to go too deeply into foods because we want to get right into the homeopathic medicines that we will consider for pelvic wall prolapse. Now, the first medicine that we're going to talk about that is the most commonly used, that is the most noted for this condition, is the medicine, and I know most of you who have taken my courses, especially Homeopathy, will know, is sepia. S-E-P-I-A, sepia. Sepia is a great medicine for hormonal issues, particularly worse after having babies or a baby. The more babies the woman has, she finds that through the years, more and more of a prolapse becomes pronounced. So in sepia, there's a whole picture. And so I would not just choose sepia because there's a prolapsed uterus or pelvic wall. I would not just jump on that. I want it to fit on more than one level. So it can be the person can be often irritable. The woman, not the person, the woman can be irritable. She might be subjected to headaches. She might have a lot of hormonal issues, feeling overwhelmed by her family, or the duties of her family that she must tend to. She might have completely lost libido or finds herself resentful of having relations. And so it's a bearing down sensation to help us determine whether or not it's sepia. There can be an irregular menses. There can be dysmenorrhea or amenorrhea. And she can be feel much better if she can just sit with her legs crossed. That is sepia. Now, let me tell you, I like sepia in a 6, and I like sepia in a 200C. So it's a great medicine for when a woman has had a significant hormonal shift, such as I said, having a baby. Here was my scarf is falling apart here. It's coming out. From having a baby, maybe having several babies. It also can come as a result, I might add, from being tinkered with from drugs drugs that she's been told are natural, such as bioidentical hormones. They are not natural, my friends. If they were natural hormones, that would mean they'd come from another woman. They don't. They are synthetic. Okay? I'm saying that very clearly because I want you to know that bioidentical idea, in my estimation, is a marketing term. Now, I know I'll get lots of flack for that, but I don't care. I'm going to tell you what I really think. And so when a woman has had those drugs that she's taking daily, or she's having injected, or she's wearing on her skin as a patch, it can cause hormonal shifts that could potentially result in something such as a uterine or bladder prolapse. And in that case, the first remedy we think of is sepia when we have a woman with that kind of a history. All right, now let's look at another medicine that I have used successfully as well as sepia. Now, I'm not going to tell you the frequencies right now. I'm just going to tell you the potencies. All righty? So the next medicine that I like very much, and I've used a number of times for this situation, is conium. Conium, C-O-N-I-U-M, conium maculatum. It's 2 words. And that is for older women. And it's also has a bearing down sensation. And there can be pain in the area, but not so much uterine, not even pelvic floor, more even further down than that, more in the labia. The person, she can have hot sweats at night or during the day. She feels like she wants to be left alone. Now, so does sepia. Sepia wants to be left alone, however, by members of her family. She's kind of exhausted by her familial duties. And that all changes, by the way, once you use sepia. It usually just abates, and she's happy to get back to her household duties. But for conium, that's a little different. It's not about her duties. She just wants to be alone. She doesn't have a lot of interest in being with people. It's not that she has a resentment. She just doesn't have interest in being with others. So there's a difference between those two. So I'll go back and go over the potencies and the frequencies in a little while. But right now I want to go to the next medicine that I find is also very important. These top 3 remedies are the ones that I've used the most frequently. The next one that I'm going to talk to you about is Lilium tigrum or tigrinum. Lilium, L-I-L-I-U-M, tigrinum, T-I-G-R-I-N-U-M. Now, this one has the ligaments are that is what's going on. The ligaments are letting go. And why are the ligaments relaxing? Because of the hormonal shift. So in both sepia and in conium, it is pretty clear that it is a screaming hormonal issue. And it also, to be honest, is for Lilium tigrum. And so there's also, as I said, a bearing down sensation. But this person who has this concern, it feels like doesn't want to move. She feels as though if she moves, that she feels as though everything will drop out, that her uterus will drop out. Now, is that so that will happen? It's possible, but there is a very strong sensation in her experiencing this. She has a lot of she has frequent urination, frequent defecation. So what we're seeing here is that everything is pushing against everything else. And that it's not only a lot, it can even be when someone needs Lilium, it can be that it's constant. There's a constant sensation as though urine and feces must constantly be emitted. The person can be depressed, and menses can be difficult. It can be not enough menses. It's what would I say? It's less than adequate. It can be also there can be an odor to it, and but in this person there's a sexual desire that is missing in sepia. Sepia's lost that interest, whereas Lilium has that desire. But in Lilium, there's a lot of anxiety too. So you see where I'm going with this. We have these physical symptoms. We already know that there is a prolapse. There's a heaviness. There's a feeling as though the uterus or the bladder may fall out completely. That there is a constant need to release the bowels and the bladder. But there's also an emotional or psychological component. Now, not all remedies are like that. And not all conditions need to include psychological. But because this is such a female hormone consideration, hormonal consideration, we associate female hormones with emotions. It just is the way we are made. It's the cloth from which we're cut. So those are the top 3 medicines. Now I'm going to go back and tell you what potencies I would most consider using. Let's go back to sepia. As I said, sepia can often suffer from headaches. And if there are headaches, then I'm going to automatically, in addition to this prolapse, I'm going to go directly to sepia 200C. And I'm not going to use sepia 200C for every single little day of a headache, but rather twice a week, let's say Monday and Wednesday or Thursday, or the other way to do it is once a week. Now, this is a hard thing for most people to accept, because if they're suffering, they think, well, I want to do it more frequently. If once every 3 days is good, why isn't once every day even better? It's not the way it works. There is a rhythm to these medicines in relationship to the condition and the symptoms. And if we disregard the rhythm, we can cause confusion in the case. So, sepia 200 every 3 days or every 7 days. So that's sepia. Let's go to the next one, conium. I actually like conium in a couple of different potencies, but I'm going to suggest more often I like conium maculatum in a 6. 6X or 6C. Same thing with sepia, X or C. More often it's C, but many people, depending on where you are in the world, can't get C's. So I'm going to say X is our second choice, but C is our first choice. I'm going to say sepia in a sepia in a 200C and conium in a 6X. So conium also, let me just go back and add this. Conium is a great medicine for women who have not had children or who are not married. So are not having sexual relations, not having children, and it's over later in life. more often. Sepia can happen, though, after the birth of a baby, even in a 35-year-old. Sepia can be needed, at that time. All right. And then the last one we talked about was Lilium. And what I like about Lilium is that we can use that in a 30 or 200. I most often use it in a 200. And I do it in the same way as sepia, generally every 3 days, twice a week. And now let me get to your questions tonight. Oh, look at how time it is. Oh my gosh, it goes by so quickly. Yes. Oh, listen, I love that you're helping each other. My daughter got this after her 5th baby. Yeah, that's when it happens. And so after babies, it's most likely, not always, but most likely going to be closer to sepia. But it doesn't mean that if sepia doesn't act, we don't say, oh, well, that's the end of that. No, you go to the next medicine. And I urge you to, if this is of importance, my friends, I urge you to go to Joette's Learning Center and look at the courses that I offer. Feminopathy is where you will find this particular one. And let me also say, my friends, if you are enjoying this tonight or you find value in this, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe and share and like, because it does make a difference. It really helps us get this word out. Lynn says Kegels did not work for me. No kidding. I know. It's either a pessary, which is an apparatus, doing the Kegels, or surgery. Or wait a minute, fourth choice is using bioidentical drugs. So, and this is so different. We can use these homeopathic medicines that cost, tops $12 for a bottle, and use them without any side effects or any concerns. So, all right, let's see what page. You're sharing the page numbers, which is great. Diane from Country Cupboard in East Aurora. Come on. You guys, that's one of my favorite stores. I have not been to your wonderful little place in years. Please say hi to everyone for me at the Country Cupboard in East Aurora. Very darling health food store, been around forever, and I'm sure now you've probably got that deli really going. All right, let's see what else we've got. Kegels, yes, yeah, I understand. I know. Let's see. Yep, well, you're helping each other, so that's great. Frequency for conium, twice daily. I would use it, if you're going to use it in a 6X or 6C, I would use it twice daily. So how long, I love this question, April in Kentucky, how long would you expect this condition to take to resolve? Well, when I teach case management in my courses, such as in feminopathy, so if you really want to know the full depth and breadth of it, that's where to go. But let me give you what I can tonight. I normally suggest that we use, especially when it's a female condition, because we have a 28-day cycle, that we see at least 2 28-day cycles pass. So that's about 2 months, wouldn't you say? And if you see that there's improvement, but it's not done, what do? We carry on. We keep going. And then we follow and observe another 2 28-day cycles. What happens if, however, the woman is worse? Over the next several days, she's much worse. She's much more, maybe there's breakthrough bleeding, or she's very fatigued. I mean, if there's a little something, she's a little worse, maybe a little of the bowels are a little different, or the bladder's a little different, but I mean, considerably worse, not dangerously worse, but considerably worse, then I would, if you can push through it for a little while, it would only probably last a day or so. Rarely do we see a great aggravation using this method of repetition. It's pretty rare. But if the person stays worse, if she stays worse, then, my friends, it is time to reconsider and shift the medicine to where she is now. So what happens if the woman is postmenopausal and no cycles? Yeah, doesn't mean you can't use this. You're going to still, I'm giving you what happens when it's a woman who is still menstruating, going through menopause, and coming out on the other side is still the same. The only difference is there's no menses, right? There are no pregnancies. So you're still going to consider these medicines. Now, I am giving you a thumbnail sketch, my friends. I want you to always understand that that's what I do here. I give you a thumbnail sketch. I'm not going to tell you exactly what you need to be doing. Instead, I'm giving you a little taste so that you can go to a Materia Medica. You can either use my Materia Medica if you already own it, or if you don't, you can go to Joette's Learning Center. Read more about these medicines so that you can differentiate in your specific situation. Or you can go online and read Materia Medicas for free. Dr. Boricke, Boericke. I talk about these Materia Medicas almost every week. They're free online. Dr. James Tyler Kent, Dr. Phatak, Phatak. And those are, then you read up, is it sepia or is it lilium? Is it conium? Should I consider conium or should I consider sepia? The way you're going to really make your best determination, my friends, is to read those medicines. And now you're going to read the medicine with your case or the case you're looking at in mind. You're going to be myopic about it. And when you finish reading the Materia Medica, the description of the medicine, and see how it fits this woman, I ask you to read it again. I ask you to read it again. Don't make short work of this, my friends. If you really want to make these medicines work properly, I urge you to read it, sleep on it. Next day, read it again. Now does it seem to fit, or were you caught up in the excitement that it might be exactly the right thing, and perhaps you needed to read a little bit further? My sister, says Nancy, had total prolapse of all organs and had surgery, which hasn't worked. Can we start homeopathy? You bet. You can start homeopathy at any time. Whether the woman is using bioidentical hormones or not. Whether she's had children or she has not. Whether she has had surgery or not. Absolutely. There we go. Oh, thank you for putting the Learning Center up there for me. Let's see what other questions we have. Let's see. Yes, that's right, Mindy. Free Materia Medica from many of the early masters. Can this condition resolve completely with homeopathy? I have seen it resolve completely with homeopathy. And then I've also seen it not resolve completely. And then I've seen it not work at all. But more often than not, we see something beneficial. Yes, we do. And I've seen it, as I said, I've seen it take it all the way. That's true of all conditions, my friends. All conditions are like that. So that question is asked on a regular basis. Will homeopathy take care of diaper rash? Can homeopathy resolve eczema? Can homeopathy resolve depression? Yes. In every case, no. So we can see that it can work grandly and completely cure whatever the condition is. We can see that it helps a good amount, but not completely cure. We can see that these homeopathic medicines can do some good and alleviate the outer edges so that the person can get resumed to a certain degree their life as a result of having used these miraculous medicines. And I've also been disappointed. I've seen the whole gamut. Okay. So if no change after 2 months, then quit? No, you'll go to the next medicine you're going to consider. And if you have the repertory, you're going to look at the medicines that are specific for uterine or bladder prolapse. You don't quit. No, we never quit. We never quit. And if you were ever to get a repertory, this repertory, you will see why you would never quit. Because there are so many medicines that cover each of the conditions that you say, oh my gosh, these were only 3. And there are so many others. Okay, my friends, I'm going to dash off. I've got a class tonight that I'm teaching. And should you be interested in knowing what I do when I finish here every Monday night and sometimes Wednesdays as well, is I meet with a number of people who are studying my courses. And when they finish the course with a leader, we call them the protocol courses, then we meet and I answer the students' questions. And so for that, or with that, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to my American friends. Enjoy your families. Don't cook too long. Today I did a lot of cooking. I'm exhausted. And I will see you next week. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye now.
With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenica fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calica bonicum, let it melt on your gum, bovis to wheat are some great ways to treat ya. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies.